Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning, Snake. Good morning, Hidden. I hope you're both doing incredibly well. Crypto Queen is in chat. Lucky Crypto Triple B, good morning to you all. I suppose we should get this show back on the road. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. It's December the 15th? And we are only 10 days away from Christmas, and we are back. As you can see, we have a beautiful Christmas decoration around us. All of those lovely little snowflakes out there you can watch as well. My name is Mike. I have been away for, I think, about 2.5 weeks now. We've put up a few videos. We've put up a few bits of content on Binance Square and on YouTube, but we haven't really streamed. And we are back. The Oracle himself has been in Dubai. We have a picture of him with a very famous person coming up. We have a lot to talk about today as well. We are going to go through the charts because it is a Monday. We're going to go through the new chairman of the Fed. We're going to look at who that's probably likely to be. We're going to talk about ETH, what's going to happen if Bitcoin comes down. We're going to talk about trust and banks. We're going to talk about XRP. We're going to talk about Zcash, and we're going to talk about the Santa rally. Now, I think probably over the next few days, you're going to hear a lot about something called the Santa rally. So I'm going to bring up a little bit of Wikipedia knowledge for you at the very end of the show to explain what the Santa rally is and give you my thoughts on it. Now, before we do any of that, we have, of course, the prices to look at, and we've got some X-Files. So it's going to be a busy show, as always. It's nice to see the regulars in chat. Solo Sky is here as well. Good morning to you. Now, there is no menu on the right-hand side today. The Oracle, when he gets back, will be turning that back on. And I've left the $90,000 target there. Now, what's funny about that is this stream hasn't gone out for about 2.5 weeks. And 2.5 weeks ago, we'd just broken $90,000. And as you can see today, we are currently sitting at $90,000. So we haven't really moved in the 2.5 weeks since I went away. But now I'm back. Bitcoin coming in just under $90,000. Ethereum holding up very well, $3,150. We've got BNB just under $900, XRP at $2. We are at a very important time. I cannot stress how important this current period is. I know we say this all the time, Bitcoin's in this very crucial period, we know. But if you look at the prices, we are at the cliff edge. $2 for XRP, $900 for BNB. Solana is holding $132, $135. Cardano is at 40 cents. Okay, Cardano is down a lot compared to the 60 and 80 cents it was sitting at not that long ago. It's taken a bit of a hammering. Hype below $30. Chainlink below $15. These are really, really crucial prices. And what we're going to go through some downside. I made a video for the OGs yesterday, and I explained where I think we are and where I think we need to focus on in 2026. And of course, it's an OG video. It's for the OGs. They subscribe to the channel, so I'm not going to go through everything we talked about on that. But one of the crucial things we're going to cover today is the play that Bitcoin is likely to do over the next 2 or 3 weeks. We have run out of time. Now, I said back in November that when we are in the bull run, we will know that we are in the bull run. We are not in the bull run, okay? The bull run has passed. We are in the point now where we put in a lower high before we come down, or we just keep coming down. But again, people have this PTSD of the bear market, thinking that we're going to go into a 2-year bear market, which we're not. There's not going to be a 2-year bear market. We are likely to see 6-12-month bear market. Now, if we time that from the peak, which was in October, we are already 2 months into the bear market. So if we're looking at a 12-month bear market, then we're looking at October next year. But we're going to get into all of that further on in the stream. But let's go through the 24 hours. I always ignore these new coins or coins that have come out of nowhere. Tron is up a touch. Ethereum is the 5th largest gainer. That is interesting. Hype has recovered. Polygon, I covered this in my video yesterday. 12 cents, absolute disgrace. Starknet is up. Not many gainers. Losers, I'm expecting there to be an awful lot. Now, Midnight, this is the recently launched project from Cardano. They've got 2 tokens over there, Midnight being one of them. That's down a big chunk today. Meme Aerodrome at 58 cents. Again, I'm no longer going to say Aerodrome under $1 is a bargain. Okay, I'm not going to say those things, but it is. If you look at what we talk about on here, is projects that make revenue and projects that make profit are the ones that will survive. If you look at the projects of the coins that you are invested in and you don't know how they make money, then maybe they don't make money. And that's something you should really consider when you look at your portfolio. That would be something seriously to consider. Potenza is down, VeChain, SPX, Celestia. Celestia is at 55 cents. As we've mentioned many times on here, we traded Celestia between about $13, $14 and $20 back in the day. That's down massively. Zcash is coming down back at just over $400. Dash is down. A lot of coins are giving up everything they've gained this year. Now, Bitcoin has retraced 30%. A lot of these coins are down probably 60, 70% this year. It's not a good place right now. And I'm not going to hide from that. But what we are going to do before we get on to the charts is I'm going to go through a couple of catch-up tweets that kind of show you what's been going on. Now, if you're wondering why I'm wearing my hoodie today, it's because of my eye operation, I'm not allowed to wash. So I've got very greasy hair. Good morning, Kabir. The bear is here. I can see now. Yes, I have proper eyes. I can see. It's very, very nice. Now, this is probably what we're going to lead with, and that is that the Oracle himself. Now, what I want to point out here is 2 things. Number 1, the Oracle has very white legs. But number 2, look how tall CZ is. How tall is CZ? The Oracle is 6'5". That makes what? CZ 6'1"? I thought CZ was a lot shorter than that. The Oracle met CZ at Binance Blockchain Week. We were honored to be there. Not only did the Oracle meet with CZ, he was also on stage. I'll dig out that tweet for tomorrow's stream. The Oracle was on stage talking about content creation on Binance Square. He's had a whale of a time. Not only was he at Binance Blockchain Week, he was at Bitcoin Mina. He was also at Solana Breakpoint, and he was also at a couple of other events out there. And he had a whale of a time. And he is landing, I believe, he is landing anytime now. Now then, this is a really interesting point to make here. And it's a point that, to be honest, I didn't really think about. So we've got the Solana and the XRP ETFs, both of them are live. But the XRP ETF has overtaken Solana in AUM. And this is probably the most salient point from this tweet. Solana is much more efficient to hold on-chain and stake directly for retail. XRP has institutional demand and no staking. And that's a really interesting point. It's an obvious point, but sometimes the obvious points have to be made. And I think what this means is it's positive for both Solana and XRP to have ETFs, but it's incredibly important for XRP to have the ETF. There is no inherent gain from holding it in your wallet. So holding it via an ETF as part of your 401 or as part of your investment strategy is probably a really good idea. But just to give you another example, my Solana is currently earning me 11% APR, which is a little bit higher than the 7%, which I think is the staking rewards right now, maybe 6.8. But it's just an obvious point, and sometimes you have to make these obvious points. Now, apply this to Bitcoin and Ethereum, Bitcoin, there is probably a case to be made that holding it as part of an ETF is a better way of holding it because it's a more valuable asset. You might not want to take the risk. So holding it as part of the ETF makes sense. Ethereum, yes, you can stake Ethereum, but you're only really earning now. What are the APRs on Ethereum now? 1.82%. So again, the case can be made there for that to be held as an ETF. But then when you start to bring up coins like maybe Cardano, maybe we look at some of the other coins that have got proof of stake where you can earn 5, 6, 7, 8%. If you're not getting that through the ETF, maybe the argument is to be made that you can stake them on chain or stake them through Binance. I know you can stake, I know you can get an ETF with Solana staking, I know that, but there is a haircut that you take from whoever you use, whether it be BlackRock or whoever it might be. But a very interesting point needs to be made. And this is brilliant. So there is a company called Sanitize. And what I like about this, okay, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, not because I need to see it, but because you can see it. This is the Coles leaderboard. And this is basically your favorite influencers apart from us, okay? And you'll see some names on here that you might recognize. Pentoshi is on here. Eric Trump, altcoin. Eric Trump really isn't a call, but you know what I mean. Altcoin Gordon, Martini Guy are on here. And the column to look at is the win rate. And you will see the win rate of the different calls over the last 30 days, 7 days, 14 days, whatever it might be. Now, I only follow one real winner on here, and that is Pentoshi. It's Pentosh1, but I call him Pentoshi. And he's got a 65% win rate. So his predictions are right 65% of the time. And he's the best call over the last 30 days. And if we go to the other end, and we look at Muro Crypto, Crypto Tony, Eric Trump, they are 36-40% right. So the best in the industry, and I would probably agree that Pentoshi is one of the best in the industry, is still only right 2/3 of the time. And I think that's really important, again, to highlight. I know I always bring up tweets from people and say, take these price predictions with a pinch of salt. I've tweeted myself about the likes of Rich Dad Poor Dad, giving people $250,000, $300,000 targets for Bitcoin by the end of 2025. We are nowhere near. We are nowhere near. And he's been wrong, consistently wrong now for almost 2 years. And there's being wrong, and there's being wrong. And I think being wrong by 10% is completely wrong. It's completely different to being wrong by 200 or 300%. And you can say the same of Cathie Wood and people like that who give these targets of $1 million and $500,000. The expectations is where my problem is with these things. I am never going to be 100% right. I'm probably never even going to be 50% right. But I want to sit here and give predictions that I think are within the realms of possibility. And could we have gone to 140, 150,000? Absolutely. Of course we can. Did I think at any point we were going to go to 250 to 300, $450,000? Absolutely not. So when you look at people like Pentoshi, who is always going to be right more often than they're wrong, they're still only going to be right 65% of the time. And that's something to bear in mind. Nobody is going to be 100% right all the time. That is something you have to learn over time. That's why we suggest on here, you watch multiple different streamers. Go and watch 4 or 5 and maybe watch them a couple of times a week. And then you make your own educated decision on where we're going to go. That's the most important thing. Now, one thing I have been talking about on here that now it's starting to be picked up by everybody else. I was saying probably since the summer that I think what America is doing is moving their debt into crypto. And how that works is very simple. You have Circle, you have Tether, you have all of the regulated stablecoins in America. And to operate Circle and Tether, you need to buy American debt. So you need to buy government bonds. And those government bonds are basically the debt of America. And what they're doing, and what I think they're going to try and do, is push as much government debt into Web3 as possible to then reduce any kind of specific demand from one particular country. So as an example, we covered months ago, China has been selling American debt. Japan, I think, has also been selling American debt, not just as a country, as a nation state, but also individuals within those countries. And what I think America is trying to do is move their debt from being held by China and Japan and maybe the UK and Switzerland and move it into Web3. So then the debt is held by you, wherever you are in the world. And now we've got Russia coming out and are trying to basically suggest that America is going to run off this debt into Web3 and then they're going to devalue it. Now, I believe with the first bit. I don't believe with the second bit. Okay? I don't think they are going to be able to do this. What I think they're doing is they're going to do this to the point where there is no one person that can bring down increase the yield on American debt. So I think the first part of this is correct. I think the second part is conspiracy theory. But it's still interesting to see that we are on the right tracks with what we think is going to happen. And because it took me a while to figure out why America went with stablecoins first and not Bitcoin, and it's simply because they have more debt. And then as they start to unload their debt into Web3, they will start to buy Bitcoin. Now then, something else that's really important to understand is this. When you see things like this, your first reaction is going to be, here we go again, the UK are trying to police something that they have no control over. Yes. China, you replace the UK with China, you replace the UK with America, you replace the UK with Switzerland, whoever it might be. Okay, it doesn't work that way. You need rules. You need regulations. The 3 tenets of Crypto Warehouse are what? Adoption, interoperability, and regulation. The 3 things you need for crypto to succeed. This is regulation. Regulation, regulation, regulation. If you cannot comply with regulation, then you are clearly doing something naughty. Whether that be KYC, whether that be anti-money laundering, whether it be any of these things, you need regulation, okay? It applies in every other market. It applies in the stock markets, banking, it applies in energy. Everything has regulations. Now, you can over-regulate, yes, of course. But let's not read this and think Big Brother is coming after you. You need to have rules and regulations. And again, lots of people down here are going off on the wrong end, but some people are saying, regulation is inevitable. That's why we were calling for it. Regulation is inevitable, and that's what you need. Now, let's move on. We have a lot to get through. Let me check chat while I am here and see who is talking. Now I can read chat these days. So the bear is here. Snake is here. KB is in chat. Tariq is here. Good morning to you, Tariq. There was a lot of very nice messages that I got on DMs, by the way, that I greatly appreciate. Greatly appreciated. What I would say is, I'm not going to read that comment out, Snake. What I would say is that what I had done was minor, okay? They were minor things. And it just so happens because of anyway, it doesn't really matter. But they were minor, but they had serious consequences if they went wrong. And luckily, touch wood, I think everything is fine. Now, let's go on what is going to be happening this week. What is of importance? The unemployment rate is important on Tuesday. Wednesday, we have more people talking. Thursday, we have CPI and CPI and CPI. And this is what we want. Now, you will see in some of these columns, NA for previous. And the reason is we didn't have all of the data that we wanted because, of course, America was in shutdown. So this week we have CPI and we have jobless claims and we have an unemployment. These are vitally important. And then on Friday we have home sales. Now, will you look at the 3 things which Powell uses to determine whether they are going to cut rates or not. It's normally to do with housing, inflation, and housing pressure. It's to do with unemployment, and it's to do with inflation. We've got all three this week. So today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, please expect volatility in the market. We could go absolutely everywhere this week. We could see us go to $80,000. We could see us go to $95,000. We can have a very, very volatile week, especially the state of the market. And we're going to talk about the new chairman of the Fed, which is likely to come up. Now then, this is the dollar index. And this is kind of now appearing to be trapped in a box. So rather than breaking up, we didn't. We have hit this line and we've come back down. And where we come back down to, we've come back down to the bottom of the bull market support band. Now, what does this mean? Well, I said we'd go to 100. That's what I said. Or we would start to look to break above 100. And we kind of got rejected at it twice. In fact, if we bring that down, can we get it a little bit closer? 1 second. There we go. I suppose that's close enough. We got to 100. Haven't broken it. So what do you do when you don't break? You come back down to test this level of support. We appear to be finding some level of support. And I would expect this to go up. Again, why is this important to watch? Because this kind of shows you the health of the American economy with regards to all of the economies around the world, the strength of the dollar. And we had a huge move down. A huge move down where we came from 110 all the way down to, where did we bottom out at? About 96. That's a big move. A big move. I know it doesn't seem big because you're in crypto, but that's a humongous move. And again, it's not the first time we've been down here. You can go back in time and you can see how low we have been. But we're at a kind of level where I think we're going to see the dollar get stronger. And I know Trump doesn't want a strong dollar. And I know I keep making a point of this. He wants to basically be able to cheapen everything he does. So he doesn't want a strong dollar to do that. So there will be other macro forces in play that possibly push this to the downside. But again, it's only one thing to keep an eye on. The most important thing as far as we are concerned with regards to crypto is, of course, and we haven't looked at this for a couple of weeks, and everything I'm looking at, by the way, today, apart from the articles, I haven't pre-checked any of these charts. So this is Bitcoin dominance, and I have drawn my little box on there of where I think we are going to go to. I've also removed all of my trend line to make it a little bit clearer for everybody to see. Okay, and again, we've been on a journey. We've been on a huge journey, and we are now, again, at the same point I was saying a second ago, where Bitcoin has to make a decision. And that decision is, does it go up or does it go down? Simple, up or down. And there are two cases to be made. One, we go up, and we'll look at the Bitcoin price in a minute. And two, we go down. Last time out, a couple of weeks ago, we tried to explain how Bitcoin dominance works. If all of the altcoins drop 10% and Bitcoin drops 5%, Bitcoin dominance goes up. If the price of Bitcoin goes up and the price of alts goes down, Bitcoin goes up. Bitcoin dominance goes up. So this isn't a chart to read where Bitcoin goes up and then everything else goes up and Bitcoin dominance keeps going up. It doesn't work that way. This is the performance of Bitcoin against the rest of the market. And again, we're at a crucial point. This entire period of October and November, where we had two shocks, has really shook everything out of the market. Was it October the 10th? We had the wick. Was it about October the 10th? Yeah, October the 10th. And then we had the second one there at the beginning of November. So these two lines here have really basically finished everything off. Okay? Everything is dead in the water right now. The volatility is down. the volumes are down, and we are heading towards the Christmas period, which also means what? Traders go on holiday. Traders are going to go on holiday. They're going to go to the Hamptons, where they've got their 9-foot Christmas trees, and they're going to have their Louis Vuitton slippers on. They're going to be smoking their Cubans and drinking their 25-year-old single malts. And that's it now. This is it until probably middle of January. So we've got 4 weeks now of treading water. We're in a sailboat with no wind, which means what? We float. That's what we do. Now, we can float down, we can float up, but we are, what, a week away from Christmas, week and a half away from Christmas. What do we expect to happen? We are not going to rip between now and Boxing Day. So the volume isn't there, and if there's no volume, there's no price action. Unless something dramatic happens, which I can't see, we are pretty much stuck where we are. And let's have a look. We're going to look at the Bitcoin price after this one, because I want to kind of give you the two directions that we're at as far as I can see. Now, that was where we kind of topped out. That was at 4.26 trillion. I said 6 to 10 trillion. That's been my target for 2.5 years. We didn't really get close. I mean, we got fairly close, but we got nowhere near really. Now, yes, we are staging somewhat of a resistance at this point, which is 3 trillion. And yes, we're staging a resistance, but the resistance I don't think is going to hold. I think if we bring up the Bitcoin chart, which is, let's just type it in here. If I show you where we are. Now, I might sound bearish, okay? I might sound bearish, but I don't mean to sound too bearish. I'm just trying to be as realistic without being overly pessimistic and optimistic as possible. Now, the line's in the sand for me. If we are going to get anything else, if we're going to squeeze any more out of this bull run, those two lines there are what we have to break. That's 102.6 and 106.5. Why? Because when we are down here, this, for me, is the bear market. 1 second. And then this up here, this area up here, is the bull run. We are not in a bull run anymore. And not only are we not in a bull run, what we need to do now is see if we get some kind of action to here. Now, if we decide that we are going to break and then hold the support, then we go up. In my opinion, and it is only my opinion, we've got a 1% chance of this happening. That's where I think we're going to go. 1%. Similarly, what I also don't expect, and what many people will be telling you, is that we are just going to do this and go down to $40,000 or $50,000. Again, I don't see that either. So you have to look at both sides. The people who tell you we're going to $40,000 are the people I put in the same bracket as the people telling you we're going to $250,000 to $350,000. They are both unrealistic, in my opinion. If we don't get a blow off top, then we don't get mass capitulation. If we're doing this, okay, which is massive euphoria, massive capitulation, massive euphoria, massive capitulation, that's one thing. But we didn't, where was the massive euphoria? This isn't euphoria. So if we do this on the way up, what do you think is going to happen on the way down? Probably, with the macro, we do this. There's no sharp rip to cause a sharp dip. So when we talk about a bear market, now let's say we're saying it's 6 to 12 months. The Fed, which we're going to talk about in a minute, he's going to be put in May or June, something like that. So if we say 6 months to the bottom of the bear market from this peak, which is October, so November, December, January, February, March, April, 6 months to April. So if we are in a bear market, sorry, not put that over here somewhere. If we are in the bear market, because the bear market started here. So if we are, we're already a third of the way through. So are we going to go to $40,000? I don't think so. Now, I've also got two lines drawn down here. These are the previous all-time highs of the previous bull run. Previous bull run got us to what? $68,000, $69,000. So where do you think my target is for Bitcoin? $69,000, $70,000. That's my target. Maybe 65, maybe 64, maybe 70. Who knows? But around that target. And that's that range there. So we're a third of the way through the move towards the bottom of the bear market, but we're also probably 2/3 of the way down. And you can argue both sides right now. You can say that we are in the 4-year cycle. And if we are in the 4-year cycle, and we stick to the 4-year cycle, which is what the bears will tell you, oh, October the 10th was the top, and now we're in the bear market, fine, you can have the bear market, but the earliest the bear market finishes is April. And if we want to go further out, and we want to find the end of the bear market, we've got to go over there. But the one thing to bear in mind is we get the new governor, or the new chairman. And guess who picks? Guess who picks the new chairman of the Fed? Give you one guess who picks the new chairman of the Fed. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The man himself decides on the new Fed chair. Donald Trump gets to pick. Is it good for the American economy in the long run? Absolutely not. Is it great for your bags? Absolutely, it's great for your bags. Who else is here? Alpha, good morning. I can't really see. There is humongous liquidity between 74 and 78. We're cooked. We are cooked, but we're not cooked now. The midterms, which I talked about yesterday in the video, are 2 years after the election date, which is November next year. So Trump's had half of his time. Election was, the election was November 2024. Then November 2026 is the midterms. And then November 2028 is the next American presidential campaign. So November is the midterms. That's where people vote, and you can kind of see how popular a president is based on that. Now, I'm not going to go into that in too much depth because it's not important for here, but suffice to say, you go down into the midterms and then you pump out of the midterms. So, what Trump will try and do before the midterms is cook the books. He's going to rip the markets. He is going to set fire to everything he can set fire to because he wants people with money in their pockets. When is Trump's stimmy check going out? It's going out at the beginning of the summer. Why? Because people will have, at whatever the number is, $2,000, $3,000 in the summer. When kids are on holiday, they can go and have a holiday together. Maybe they'll go to Disneyland. Maybe they'll have a great summer. Now, you come out of a great summer, and Trump will stand there in October next year and go, well, guys, I told you, the greatest summer that has ever lived. You've had the greatest summer at the greatest amusement park in the world, in the greatest country in the world. Vote for me. And they'll all go and vote for him. So I expect Trump to do well at the midterms because he's in charge. Now, who comes in before the stimmy check goes out is the new Fed chair. Now, I don't quite understand all of this because it doesn't make any sense to me. When the SEC, when Gensler stepped down, he stepped down in January at the start of Trump's administration. I don't understand why the Fed chair isn't tied into that. It doesn't make any sense to me. I know they're supposed to be neutral. I'm fully aware of that, but there's no neutrality in America. That's all smoke and mirrors. They're all cooking the same books. So Trump has indicated that he's considering two finalists, Kevin Warsh and Kevin Hassett. Probably because of their first names, you can call them Kev. his current director of the National Economic Council and described them as the two Kevins. The president stressed that he wants a Fed leader who is willing to lower interest rates and consult with the White House on monetary policy. These remarks would make a notable shift. Now, one thing to bear in mind, okay? This is not good. In the UK, don't know when it was, maybe KB knows. Was it in the 90s? The Bank of England was separated from the UK government. And they did that to kind of create a long-term vision for the UK economy. And because what was happening was you'd come to an election and the government would make the Bank of England cut interest rates to give people more money, to make them feel better, to then vote them back in, right? He wants a Fed leader who is willing to lower interest rates and consult with the White House on monetary policy. No, absolutely not. It's all well and good being President Trump and wanting to control your entire country, but you need to have separation of power, okay? Now, in England, we have a Prime Minister, and that Prime Minister can do nothing, okay? It goes to the House of Commons, and if he's got a massive majority, it can pass everything. But then it goes to the House of Lords, and it can get rejected in the House of Lords. So there is always checks and balances on power. And whether you like the UK at the minute or not is irrelevant. The structure at this moment in time is fine. Forget what they're trying to do with juries. That's ridiculous. In America, the Fed has always had separate autonomous control over the economy from the American administration. What would work for Trump would also work for Gavin Newsom if Gavin Newsom came in. And all that American presidents will want is lower interest rates so people have all the money in the world. No one's ever going to want them to put interest rates up. So what happens when we get mass inflation? What happens if the socialists get in and just start printing money and giving everybody $10,000 a month? Ruins the economy. So you have to have that separation of power. And you need independence. So why is this important? Because irrespective of everything I've just said, if you want your bags to pump, you want the Fed chair to put interest rates to 1%. So it's not 4.25%, let's make it 1%. Gone, right? All of a sudden, money is cheap. You borrow, you invest, you spend. The economy will absolutely rip to the upside. Great for your bags. It will cook the American economy. It will absolutely ruin the American economy. So, it's great for you. It's terrible long term to have a Fed chair that will basically be on the end of a phone to Donald Trump and Donald Trump tell the Fed chair what to do. So you decide, do you want a solid, large nation state economy or do you want a $250,000 Bitcoin? That's what you need to decide. Right, I'm just keeping an eye on chat. Good morning, Alpha. 2K stimulus checks, buying them 2 FIFA World Cup tickets. The FIFA World Cup tickets, by the way, are absolutely ridiculous. I think the problem with America is they've pumped that much money into their economy that everything is just so expensive. Years ago, I went to Miami back in 2006, and it was $2.10 to the pound, and everything was cheap. Everything, you know, we went for the best sushi, 10 courses, $140, like 70 quid, okay? We would get taxis everywhere. It was $100 to get a taxi for an hour. It was 50 quid, okay? Now, you're lucky if you get a sandwich with any amount of meat in it for $20. And yes, that's a sweeping generalization, but the problem with America is their inflation has cooked them. They no longer have cheap food. They no longer have cheap utilities and services, and they've just got too much money in their economy, and they can't drain their economy of that money, because if they do, they will stall and it will collapse. So they've ruined it for themselves, and the land of the free and plenty is now the land of the not so free and very, very expensive. So they can't do anything about it. And then it comes to the World Cup, and they're charging $3,000, $2,000 a ticket, because that's what you have to pay to see American football. But guess what? You can go and watch Man United. You can go to Italy, Spain, Germany. Germany, you can get tickets for 15, 20 euros, because we live in a slightly more sensible part of the world. And no matter what America says about Europe, the people make Europe, not the EU. Okay? Europe, as a collective group of countries, is a very nice place. And don't let any American tell you that it isn't. But then again, America is a lovely place. Don't let anybody tell you that isn't the case either. It's just optics. Now, greed versus fear at $3,000 inside Ethereum's make or break moment. Again, we seem to come to these crossroads a lot in crypto because crypto moves so much quicker than everything else. It's a little bit like Interstellar. An hour in crypto is 2 weeks worth of the stock market. And when we talk about make or break moments, this kind of move for Ethereum could take 3 months to play out in gold, but it might take 2 weeks to play out in Ethereum. That is how quick we are. And you have to get up to speed with stuff like that. So when we talk about the bear market and everyone's saying, oh, we're going to go through a brutal bear market again, I've already showed you we're a third of the way through it if we're in it, or the other way to look at it is we're 2/3 of the way through the price down. If we go to $70,000, I'm happy. I don't think we're going to $40,000. But Ethereum is in the same boat. If I said to you, Ethereum could tip $2,000, and that would be the bottom of the bear market, would you take that? I would snap your hand off right now for the bottom of Ethereum being $2,000. Do I think it's going to go to $400 or $600? No. I don't. But we also know Ethereum struggles at round numbers. 4,000, 3,000, 2,000. It struggles. It always has, and it will always continue to struggle. Even when we talk about Ethereum at $5,000, it's going to struggle to take that because we spoke about this a few weeks ago. The psyche of $100,000 for Bitcoin is the same as the psyche at $10,000 for Bitcoin. And Ethereum just has them in a more compressed area. So we talk 10, 50, 100,000 for Bitcoin. We talk 2, 3, 4, 5,000 for Ethereum. It's more compressed because it didn't move. And everyone was laughing, because Ethereum holders were sitting there and I kept telling to you, everything's too good for Ethereum to stay at these prices. And then we absolutely ripped. And then people forgot about the fact that they were calling Ethereum rubbish. And Ethereum is at $3,500, $4,000. And now we're at $3,150. It's a good price. If we continue to go down, I think $2,000 at the bottom would be great. But I don't think we're going to go to $4,000. The market's at a point where buy the fear is key for a trend shift. I don't know about this. In other words, keeping an eye on smart money is crucial to ride FOMO while managing volatility, specifically for Ethereum, seems especially important given the current trader positioning. Arkham Intelligence reports that Ethereum whales opened a massive $500 million long at 3175, but ETH's 4.7% drop on the 12th of December pushed the position into a 20 million of unrealized. We don't need to care about that. ETH's price is clearly stuck in a tug of war between fear and greed, with the 3K level acting as key support that traders are watching closely. And I think this is important. What I would say about this, I'll read the final thoughts first. Ethereum is locked in a fear versus greed battle. A break below the $3,000, whatever it might be, may spark an... Okay, right. What I think is important about this is if we are in a bear market, Ethereum is going to continue to go down. And as I said before with Bitcoin, if Bitcoin breaks $107,000 and holds it as support, at that point, you switch bullish on everything else. Until that point, and from where we are right now, I don't think Ethereum is going to hold $3,000. And I think we could go back to the 2008, 2006 range. Because everything is irrelevant between now and probably when one of the two Kevins is put into power. Because you've got Powell sitting there going, well, we can't keep cutting rates because inflation is too high. And that's his stance. And we didn't get enough rate cuts. We didn't get enough stimulation. We didn't see enough money come into the economy. We ran out of time. Simply put, we ran out of time. Conversely, we can't now sit here and say, oh, well, we're now going to go up because the money print has been turned on. It's not the right time. December is low volume. It's the Santa rally, which we're going to talk about. Then we go into January. We always dip in January. We never have a good January. And then we're going to go into what? February. I don't see anything happening. We in fact, if you look back to the beginning of this year, we topped in January and then we came all the way down for about 7 or 8 months. So a similar type of thing to that could happen now. But again, just because we didn't go to 200,000 and 250,000 doesn't mean you should stop listening to those people and not stop listening to the people calling for $40,000. Okay? They're both equally wrong. They're extremists. You look at social media right now, and everybody's talking about this. Content creators, comedians, they're all trying to grab attention. Me sitting here and telling you we're going to range between $70,000 and $100,000 for the next 6 months is going to get me nowhere, okay? But I don't care about that. If I sit here and I've got red blood all over my face and I look scared and I say $40,000, really? You are going to click on that thumbnail. Okay, but that's what everybody else does. That's why we don't do it. But that's what we're going to see. We're going to see people screaming for the extremes. And as we've seen over the last few weeks, those extreme views appear in every part of life. And that's something that has to be fixed. Okay, it's all well and good blaming an algorithm. It's all well and good blaming the computer programming, but they were all written by humans. Okay? We need to take out the extremist views because they're going to wreck you. We said this back in 2021. People were holding on for $100,000. We got to 69. This cycle, people were telling you we're going to $250,000. Even I said $140,000. And we got within 10%. So we can, of course, go up. But more than likely, we're going to come down a little bit. And if we do go above 107, it's game on. But I think we're going to get rejected at 103 or rejected at 107. But I think we'll get a relief rally. I don't think we're going to go massively up. I don't think we're going to go massively down. And for Ethereum, if we do come down to the 70s, 72, 75, 78, whatever it might be, Ethereum is going to follow suit. But again, Ethereum isn't going to go back to $600. We might see 1,800, something around that range. And that would be a really fine movement because we had a 2.5 year bull run from the bottom. And that's in a 4-year cycle. So if 2.5 years of a cycle is a bull run, you're spending more time going up over a 2.5 year period than you are going down. Now then, this is great news. The title of this article was my favourite. This was Trust Me Bro. But anyway, what this is about is very simply put. Just let me check one thing. So I think the Oracle has now landed, which is great. The Oracle is back in Spain. Now, again, I talked about this probably a few months ago. Crypto exchanges are going to become banks. And Binance will become a bank. They're not going to say it, of course, but they're going to become a bank. And they're going to become a bank in multiple jurisdictions. Europe, certainly America, Asia, maybe Africa as well. They'll become a bank. Stable coins. We've got the likes of Paxos, Circle. We're probably going to get something out from Tether as well. Ripple. These have all been given bank charters. Again, the ability to become banks. Ripple is going to become a bank. And what you're going to see is, and again, I've said this before, you're going to see smaller exchanges be unable to compete. And I'm not going to name names because we stream on Binance Square, but you're going to see certain exchanges consider merging with banks. And that's the next thing which isn't mentioned in here. So Binance will become a bank. Ripple will become a bank. Circle, Tether, Paxos, who, of course, they do stablecoins, they do gold, they'll become banks. Not in the traditional sense of a walk into a shop, hand over your cash to cash it in type of bank, but a banking license to allow them to do banky things, okay? Custody of assets, things like that. And then what you're going to see is you're going to see banks. Bank of America have started doing it, where they will start to offer crypto services. So you're going to get a merger of two worlds. And we've seen this before. We saw AOL Many, many moons ago, who was AOL merging with? Wasn't Disney or Universal, but somebody big. And you see an expansion within an industry, and then you see consolidation within that industry. And I've said this before, there's probably only 200 or 300 crypto projects worth investing in. The rest of them are trash. There are 1,000 tiny exchanges around the world. They'll probably continue if they've got a low cost base, and they'll continue to serve their clients by banks. But at this moment in time, you have got these crypto companies with lots and lots of money moving into an industry which is struggling. You're going to come in and you're going to pick up a decent bank for not a lot of money if you want to. Or you can set up yourself and go into competition with them. So this is just a natural progression from, again, being ostracized to being seen on the same level as 300, 400, 500-year-old institutions in America. So this is the first step, and there are many others that have banking licenses. They also have different types of licenses. Finance is quite convoluted. So you have money transfer licenses, banking licenses, custody licenses, all of these types of things. And depending on the direction of these companies, they're going to want to move into them. But again, is this good for Ripple, Paxos? Is it good for the crypto industry? Absolutely. It's something we should certainly keep an eye on. Now, I am keeping an eye on time because I don't want to overrun. It is 11:51. We've got a couple of articles to go. XRP bulls gain ground over bears on social media. ETF inflow streak continues. Spot XRP exchange traded funds continued a streak of positive flows. 20 million recorded on Friday. 19 consecutive days of net inflows. We saw the same thing with Solana. We saw the same thing on Ethereum. I'll say the same thing now that I said about Ethereum this time last year. And that is, we need to look at the performance of these ETFs and ignore the price of XRP and Solana. And I said the same thing about Ethereum. At some point, this demand will break the camel's back. And think of it this way. You've got a massive vat full of water, okay? But you've only got one vat of water. You can't refill it. And I come up and I start taking a litre out every day. And over the first few days, you won't notice. Maybe over the first couple of months, you won't notice. But over a 6 to 12 month period, you'll start to notice that that vat is emptying pretty quickly. And that's what happened with Ethereum. Ethereum's ETF went live and everyone absolutely panned it, including me, because Grayscale dumped the market. Grayscale dumped the market of Bitcoin because people were selling out of expensive ETFs and maybe not buying into the cheaper ETFs for a time. We saw the same thing with Ethereum. The XRP VAT and the Solana VAT of water will slowly start to empty over the next 12 months. This is why I wanted these ETFs in March or April, and we didn't get them. They were too slow again. We got them in, was it October or November? So this might not sound like a lot of money when you look at the market cap, but you look at the amount of money over 19 consecutive days. Maybe over the next 100 days, we see 80 days of inflows and 20 days of outflows. At some point, this will start to bring the price of Solana and XRP up. Okay? And I think we're going to make a separate video about this. We're going to make a video about an ETF portfolio because I think that's important. I think we're going to start January with that. I think that's going to be our big video for January. But anyway, the point of the matter is here. We're at $2. The price is likely to come lower. The ETFs are not going to save Solana and XRP right now. Okay? There's just not enough water removed from the vat already to do that. Ethereum is doing incredibly well, $3,150. Bitcoin still hanging on to $90,000 right now. And again, we can't rely on ETFs to just hold the fort and keep us propped up. But what we can do is we can look at them and say, well, retail are clearly using ETFs. So that's why we've seen no spike in price, because they're buying it through an ETF. And that would be a good argument. But if that's an argument for why it's going to hold the price up, it's also a good argument for why it's not going to allow the price to drop too much lower. Do I see a 40 or 50 cent XRP in this bear market? No. Do I see a 20 or 30 or $40 Solana in this bear market? No. But I do see us coming down to maybe $180, $60 for Solana. I do see us coming down to $1, 80 cents, 90 cents for XRP in the short term. But we should see, with Ripple becoming a bank, with Solana now expanding after Solana Breakpoint, which was amazing, I see them both doing incredibly well. But it's not going to save. We're not going to see a $10 XRP right now. But this is building the long term of the prices of XRP and of Solana. So for me, these are great news. Great bits of news for these. And again, we'll cover it all in the video when we talk about the ETF portfolio. And I have mentioned that a few times. There's two portfolios which are not a bad shout. One is the ISO, is it 22,002 or is it 20,022? The ISO portfolio is not a bad shout, but the big shout for me is an ETF portfolio. Now then, Zcash pulls $17 million off exchanges as price pauses. What comes next? I don't see the Zcash or Dash. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see why this token is going to continue going up. And the reason is it's moved so much. There is only one other way for it to go down, and that's to come down. And as the price comes down more and more, the people that are in profits from when they bought it at $100 are going to start to sell and take a 3x on it or a 4x on it. So I did say, again, I think I said 2 months ago maybe, Zcash is going to be back below $300. We're now at 400. What did we come down to? Come down to $400? 410 now, are we? $408. I think we're going to keep coming down, in my opinion. But again, even the best in the world are only 60% accurate. Right, so let me check. Right, so I haven't got that much time, so I'm going to be quick because I want to talk to you about what we're going to do for Christmas because the quizzes still have to come. So I've got to be quick. So it's 11:57. We've got some time. Right then, the Santa Claus rally. I'm going to read this out very briefly because it's important you understand what happens. And then I'm going to explain why I think it happens. And then I'm going to explain why we're not going to get $150,000 Bitcoin out of it. So the Santa Claus rally is a calendar effect that involves a rise in stock during the last 5 trading days in December and the first 2 trading days in January. Now, the stock market rises 1.3% on average during those 7 trading days between 1950 and 1969. Over the 7 trading days in question, stock prices have historically risen 76% of the time, which is far more than the average performance over a 7-day period. So, 3/4 of the time, you get a Santa rally. However, in the weeks prior to Christmas, stock prices have not gone up more than at other times of the year. So in 2024-2025, the S&P completed a reverse Santa Claus rally by selling off during every business day between Christmas, New Year, a historic first for the index. Now, there are these reasons in here. My favourite reason, which I read about many moons ago, I think I talked about this last year as well. Insurance companies, life insurance companies, pension funds, they have to produce a report in October or November. I can't remember when it is. And that report shows the performance of the assets over the year. And what they do is they sell off all the underperforming assets at September, October time. So when they produce their report, it's glowing. Instead of showing a 15% gain, it shows a 20% gain, for example. And then when that report is out, which is normally October or November, they then buy back all of those stocks that they think have a good chance of going up in 2026, for example, by buying them all back at the end of the year. So it's kind of a self-perpetuating Santa rally. Now you might think, well, why are they buying back underperforming stocks? Because those underperforming stocks could be Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, Meta. It could be all the good stocks, but they just haven't had a good 2025. So they sell them, get them off the books, make their portfolio look incredible, and then buy them all back in December. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And when I heard that many moons ago, go and have a look at how much pension and insurance funds hold of stock markets. It's about 8 to 12% of the total stock market is owned by pension funds. So it would make sense to me that that's the reason for it. And going up 75, 76% of the time would also make sense as well, because it's low volatility, it's low volume. So the Santa rally applies to everything. There are other people that will throw things in, like people are more relaxed, people are more positive at Christmas time than they are in the middle of the summer, all of these kind of things. But when it comes down to hard, fast facts, I think the insurance firms selling and buying, that's the one that stuck for me. So that's a Santa rally. And that's something you need to keep an eye on. And you'll see people mention it. Like I said, it does apply to crypto. Tax harvesting certainly has something to take into play there. But, you know, whatever. Now, we're back. Full screen. So, some important things. We have got a raft of quizzes that we need to do in December. We were unable to stream, obviously, for 2 weeks. The Oracle has been in Dubai since December the 1st. So he's coming back today. He's been there 14 or 15 days. He's now back today. We have got to do a Wolfie's night. We have got to do a Maple Finance night. We've got to do our Christmas quiz. We're probably going to bring back, and again, most of you won't remember this, but we had, in 2023, we had the Crypto Warehouse Awards ceremony, where we gave awards out to people, either people that watch us or people in crypto in general, and we enjoyed it, and that's the most important thing. You need to do something you enjoy, so we're likely to bring that back. So that's what we're going to do. So although the calendar is empty on Binance and on YouTube, although there aren't any streams up at the minute, I am going to be streaming now tomorrow, and probably on Wednesday as well. And I'm also going to be starting to have a chat with the Oracle. So today's Monday. We normally have our Wednesday meeting. Actually, that's a point. I won't be streaming on Wednesday. We have our Wednesday meeting where we sit down and we plan everything out. So we're not likely to just do Wednesdays, because if I look at the calendar, we have only got the 17th, the 24th, and the 31st. We're not going to do a quiz on New Year's Eve. We'll stream on New Year's Eve, but we won't. So what you might find is we might do a quiz maybe the 18th or the 19th, then maybe the 23rd, and then maybe the 27th. But we're going to try and fit in about 4 quizzes between now and the end of the year. And yeah, we'll try and get them done. I know a lot of people have been asking me about the quizzes as well. Some people messaged me on X. Some people messaged me on Telegram asking me when these things happen. And all I can say is we're going to fit them in. And the other thing is, very, very quickly at the end of the stream, because it's 12:03. So my operations were Tuesday and Thursday last week. My eyes will not be 100% perfect probably for the next 4 to 6 weeks. So my vision will get better over the next 4 to 6 weeks. But I'll be able to do a lot more from Thursday onwards, because I don't want to get dry eyes and things like that, because that doesn't help. So anyway, thank you all for being here. You are all legends. Smash the like button. If you've never been here before, give us a follow and subscribe. And I will see you on the stream in the morning. And I'm going to restart the Christmas music for the outro. By the way, we've got Christmas music because we are professional here. So thank you to everybody that's in here. Snake, the Bear is here. Alpha is here. KB is here. Kishan, Tariq, thank you all for watching. You're all legends. And I will see you all in the morning. Take care.